Hello and welcome back. In this video, I'm going to talk about why you are not a top student because you use motivation and willpower to study instead of building habits. This is Kaiden and I'm from Teach Children Learn. In this video, we talked about why willpower and motivation is a terrible strategy to use in your studies. And that's because it is a limited resource and it will run out at the time you need it the most. Next, we talked about how it gets depleted, what are the 3 things you do to deplete your willpower. And lastly, we talked about how instead of using willpower and motivation, create and build positive habits that support you in your studies instead. So in this video, we are going to talk about what kinds of habits to build as a student that are the most useful in improving your studies. And next, we're going to talk about how to develop these habits. Now, first of all, what kind of habits should we actually use? The first habit that I recommend is to start work immediately when you reach home from school. Before bathing, before eating, immediately when you get home, sit down and knock out half an hour to 45 minutes of work. The next habit is to use spaced repetition. Learn the habit of using spaced repetition to revise and to practice your work for exams. The third habit is learn to use the free bits of time that you have, the bits of free time that you have. What I mean by that, time when you are queuing, time when you are waiting for someone, time when you are gossiping in the canteen. These are times that you can use to quickly revise your work and reduce the amount of time you need to revise at night. The fourth habit is the habit of time management. Have a place and way to track all your to-dos, all the things you need to do, all your exams, your dates, your revision schedules. Either use a paper calendar or an electronic calendar. And the last and one of the most important habits, learn to study. Have the habit to study in intensive spurts. Don't kill yourself by studying for like 10 hours or 5 hours just the day before the exams. Learn to study in intensive short bursts of times, and these are the times that you can use to study intensively as well. Next, we're going to talk about how to build habits, how to build those habits that I suggested just now. First of all, recognize what is the cue. What do you mean by cue? Cue is basically an event or a time that you are supposed to do the habit. So for example, if you want to create a habit of starting work immediately after coming home, then the cue might be something as simple as stepping into my house. So this is the cue, and use this format: if, then. So if I am stepping into my house, then I need to do something. And that something is the routine, what you are supposed to do. So for example, you're going to do 30 minutes of work. So it will sound like this: if I step into my house, then I will do 30 minutes of work. That is your cue and your routine. And finally, how are you going to reward yourself? And you can use something very as simple as a bath and dinner to reward yourself. So the entire habit loop will look like this: if I step into my house, then I will study for 30 minutes. And I can go and have a relaxing bath and dinner. So this is your cue, this is your routine, and this is your reward. Next, we're going to talk about how do you actually internalize. Okay, cool, we've come up with the cue, when I come home, I'm going to study for 30 minutes and then I'm going to go for my bath. But how do I actually make this into a habit? One of the key things about creating habits is you have got to repeat it for many times. And legend says that if you repeat it for 21 times, then it becomes a habit. So that is exactly what we are going to do. We are going to repeat that action 21 times. And how Well, no, how are we going to do that? Well, it's very simple. What I want you to do is to set the alarm clock. Set the alarm clock for 30 minutes of practice. And this is what you're going to do in that 30 minutes. During that 30 minutes, you're going to practice coming into the house. So if you come in and you tend to take your own keys, you're going to repeat the whole routine. So you take out your key, open up the door, step into the house, and immediately when you step into the house, go and sit at your study table, take out your books, and go through the motions. Study and work for 2 minutes, and then after 2 minutes, pretend that it's going to be 30 minutes, go to the toilet and pretend to take a bath. And after this is the most important part. Repeat these 4 actions over and over again until it gets into your brain and it sets a pattern in your brain. Now, why are we doing something so peculiar? Coming in, practicing, coming home, sitting down, going to the restroom, going through the motion of getting a bath. Well, there's 3 main reasons. The first one is that repetition creates habits. If you're going to wait every day to do it, you are not going to create a habit. So instead, focus and compress all the times you're going to do these actions into a very short period of time, and that will create the habit and the patterns in your brain for you to do these actions. The second one is to iron out all the kinks. There are going to be very minor small details that you're going to forget and which will stop you from doing these actions. The last one is to get used to the motion. This is something going to be very new to you, and therefore you need to do it many times in order to get used to it, so that during the next school day, you are able, after you come home, immediately go and do it. So in this video, I've talked about what kind of habits are very powerful for students to create, and more importantly, how to create these habits. So go and create these habits and become a top student. This is Kaiden from Teach Children Learn, and it's been a pleasure sharing information with you.